God said when two people stand in agreement, miracles can happen. And we've got all of you out here, and we're in agreement that Medicare for all should happen as soon as possible. I'm Dr. Valerie McCray, and I am running actually for U.S. Senate. How did I get here? I was a psychologist. And I kept going from hut to hut trying to figure out what's wrong with everybody. What's wrong with my patients? You know, you get tired. Only 4% of psychologists are African American. So you can imagine with the African American crowd how much I was needed here and there. And it's like, wait a minute, I can't be everywhere. I need to go to the well and figure out what's wrong with the daggone well. And that well is Washington, D.C. I'm a little bit nervous right now, only because when I was a student at University of Michigan, I used to drive an hour and a half to Warren, Michigan, to listen to Marianne Williamson for 3 years. I sat in that audience. And the church of today, I can tell you, was a phenomenal, life-changing, life-breathing church. It was phenomenal. So I'm standing here today because she let us know I have no excuse not to step up and step to the plate. So thank you, Marianne. I don't know about you guys, but my journey began 50 years ago with this Medicare for All, listening to Jerry Lewis telethons, those call after call after call. And I'm thinking, this is America. Why do we have to beg for money for muscular dystrophy? Go ahead a few more years. And watching people beg and beg for money for AIDS. They were selling their property. They were selling everything for some sort of medication to survive during the AIDS epidemic. Let's jump ahead, the pandemic. Let's jump to right now. Even one of my staff members right now is hit with a $17,000 bill, and he had insurance. Why? Exactly. Why are we doing it this way? Why? What people don't understand is the mental health of America is the mental wealth of America. And we are wasting our mental wealth. Because when we are mentally strong, we can do anything. But what happens is this. When we're in agreement, someone pushes in disagreement. They want to scare you. They want to say that this is wrong, or this, you don't want universal health care or Medicare for all, it doesn't work. That's insane. And if anybody knows what insanity looks like, that's me. I work with what we call seriously mentally ill. I've seen insanity, but what's insane is we keep trying to do the same thing over and over again. It doesn't work. But I will tell you this. Let me give you a secret how this works. When you have a little girl or a little boy that doesn't want to get dressed, right? They don't want to get dressed. I don't want to put on clothes. I don't want to put that on. What do we tell them? What if you wear the red dress or the blue dress? The forced illusion, the illusion of choice. Oh, no, I don't want to put on clothes. I don't want to put on. Well, what if we put your Chucks on or your cowboy boots? No, I don't want to get dressed. I don't want to get dressed. What if I let you wear your hair down and put it in braids? Okay. The same thing happens to us. What if you had the gold plan with the $500 deductible, and what if you had it with, no copays? Then you get the gold plan. If you don't like that, you got the silver plan and the platinum plan. You got it? So now we've got an illusion of choice, and there's really no choice. You either pay now or pay later. And it still will never be enough coverage for anybody. You will always come out of your pocket. There's always another bill in your mailbox that you did not think was going to be there. Wait a minute, I got my knee. Wait a minute, it's coming from this place and that place. I have a friend in Canada, just upstairs from America, who was in a major accident, was in a coma for 2 months. He said, you know what? I never received a single bill. Not a single bill. Can you imagine what that would feel like? How much energy that would free up if we could not have to worry about how we're going to pay the bill. We have people that go into the hospital, they might get better, but then when they get their bill, what happens? They're sick all over again. They got a new diagnosis, anxiety, depression. Is there a diagnosis called PO, folks? I've had that diagnosis before, just PO. You know. So what I'm saying is it's not working. Mental health-wise, I decided to throw my hat in the ring because mental health-wise, everything connects. We need to put a mental health lens on everything we do. Everything. And the reason why is because there's a mental health answer. There's a mental health question. There's a mental health problem to everything that comes down the line. When we look at climate change, we know that as the climate rises, we know that mental health issues rise as well, right? When you get hot, schizophrenia, narcissistic personalities, all these things, they rise with climate change. And I'll give you another fact and figure. The number one occupation for suicides is in the extraction industries. Those people that pull the coal, the oil, the gasoline from the earth. They have the highest suicide rate. Did we know that? No. So it's a problem on every direction. When we divide our country upwards to the haves and the have-nots, the wider the divide, the more mental health problems increase. So we're not even talking about the mental health problem of greed, the addiction of greed. We're also talking about the mental health problems that arise from people that have to worry about, is this right? Am I supposed to be able to live up to this? How come I don't have this? And what happens with our children when they see all of that money and they feel like, how do I get that? So they're killing each other, right? Over little things, because that's where the value seems like there is. I started this journey. I was going to sing that song, Once Upon a Time. I started this journey at a point in my life where I was just broke. And I had to get a job, J-O-B, fast. And I got a job immediately at the Indiana Women's Prison. That is when I learned. It's one thing to get a PhD, but then God has a way of saying, okay, now that you got this PhD, let me really school you now, right? Let me take you to school. So as soon as I got my PhD, I walked slap dab into mental illness, drug addiction, bereavement, grief, all of that. So much so that I walked away from psychology. I'm like, you know what, that's just too much pain for me. You know, all this pain coming my way, but then I got broke, so I had to get reality back and say, okay, I've got this degree, let me use it. And the only job I could get real fast like that week was working at a women's prison. I had a ward at that time that was she would go along with whatever I thought up to do. And I was the psychologist for women that you see in the news. Those that have the horrendous murders. The front page people. Those were my patients. So I asked the warden, okay, some of these ladies have been here 10, 20, 30 years. Can we do something to sort of bring up their spirits, to make them remember something about life that they remembered? So she allowed me to have these high teas, right? And it's in those high teas, and let me tell you about these high teas. I would bring the tea, tea is cheap, but I also bought cups and saucers. And this was a big security thing, so we had to count them and all of that stuff. But when those women were holding those glass cups, because they hadn't felt glass, porcelain, china in 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, and they would cradle those cups. And while they were cradling those cups, that's when they were able to talk about their abuse, when they were able to talk about the incest, when they were able to tell me that, hey, even my dad, when he was taking me to college, would pull over to the side of the road and have sex with me. This is when they talked about how they don't even remember their crime because they were psychotic at the time, but they got them in here anyway. This is when we learned that mental illness is handled through the prison system, when if we would have dealt with those issues, if those women could have gotten care, they wouldn't have to be in prison. And don't get me wrong, there are some women in there, or some men, I worked in men's prisons as well, that do not have the capacity to feel remorse, but they are far and few between. Most of the men and women that I handled in prison, I would ride and die with them at any time. I didn't have to worry about when I walked to a men's prison. I didn't have to worry about my safety. People were like, wait a minute, you're in a maximum security prison. Aren't you scared? No. Because I had young men, old men, whatever, that watched my back at every turn. And I'm not just talking about the officers. I'm talking about the inmates. I never felt unsafe in the prison system. So what I'm saying is those people, if they would have had the care for their PTSD, if they would have had someone to talk to get mental health care, they would have been out here to care for their children. Instead, they're trying to raise their children from a visitation room in the prison. Our mental health is our mental wealth that we're losing contact with. One thing about us is, one thing you need to know is that 70%, you're not alone, we're not alone. 70% of Americans want Medicare for all. They want an uninterruptible medical care system. Something that can't be interrupted by age, race, jobs, employment, gender, just uninterruptible. It just keeps going. Can you imagine being a doctor? I'll say that again, uninterruptible, because I don't know about you, but my health care itself has been interrupted so many times. I don't know, my ovaries might fall out right here on the stage, I don't know. But it's been uninterrupted every time I change jobs. I don't know where to go, and I'm probably speaking for everyone out here. Those jobs where you go to and you retire from, they're not there anymore. And even those jobs, they change your insurance every time there's this open enrollment, right? Yeah, that means that every time there's an open enrollment, you're getting less and less and paying more and more, right? So I long for some sort of insurance right now, but that's okay, you know. But I think I long more for insurance for everyone, absolutely everyone. All of my life, all of my working life, I've dealt with extreme mental health issues. I'm working in, just like I said, prisons with people that are has severe schizophrenia, severe bipolar disorder, where mania and depression is just so severe, it winds them up totally disabled by their disability. But it's in between those conversations that the staff or someone that I'm working with will come up to me and say, you know what, Doc? I got a daughter at home that's cutting. I don't know what to do about that. You know what, Doc? I've got a son I caught putting something around his neck, and I don't know what that's about. You know what, Doc? I have a kid that has autism that I can't control anymore, and they keep bouncing us around from place to place, and I go to this hospital and they say they won't take my insurance or this insurance. It's those in-between conversations that said, you know what, I'm so anxious. You know, I'm losing all my friends right now because I don't agree with some of the stuff that they agree with because they're in this conspiracy thing, and I'm just lonely, and it's just a mess, and this COVID thing has got us all down, and I just don't even know what to believe or think. Don't you guys think that is really affecting our mental health? The anxiety medications, the depression medications have went way up. Suicide rates have went way up. Domestic violence has went way up. My weight has went way up. I don't know about you, I caught the COVID-19 times 2 pounds, you know, COVID 38. That's how my anxiety, I dealt with my anxiety, but other people dealt with their anxiety in other ways, drinking, drugs. We have a severe heroin crisis, and we barely are done with, and we're really not done with the crack cocaine crisis. We're not done with the benzodiazepine crisis. We're not done with any of that. We've got a long way to go, and the only way we're going to be able to get to it, if people can go to their doctor, go to a clinic with no questions asked, and say, I need help. We have to have the doctor's offices where they screen for mental health issues from the time you walk in the door. No more of this drive-by doctoring where they're waiting on you so fast that you forget to even think, wait a minute, I forgot to tell them, I left the doctor's office, I forgot to tell them that I'm really depressed, I'm having this problem, right? With Medicare for All, we also have the opportunity not only to have medical care for everyone, but we have the opportunity actually to re-envision our healthcare system. There are healthcare systems out there, the accountability healthcare systems, the value-based healthcare systems that get reimbursed by how much they heal, not by how many people they bill.